My name is Todd Brooks with Ford Motor Company, and today we're going to go through the actual software and setup of the ICI FM320p camera for our thermal screening stations throughout the company. Go ahead and log in. One thing I want to bring to your attention, these are local accounts set up on our laptops, and a username and password have already been set up once the system has been deployed to you, and it is simply camera, all lowercase, C-A-M-E-R-A, and the password is exactly the same. So everything's lowercase, and it should already be set up on the laptop. So if we can go ahead and log in. Software's already been loaded for you, and you'll notice in the upper left hand the ICI inspection system. Just double click on that icon, that will launch the program. Very quick overview. You got 4 panels right here. The 2 of primary interest, upper left, that is the actual infrared channel, and then the one on the upper right, this is the video camera live stream. The 2 lower quadrants really are for if there are screenshots that are captured, those would display the very last image that was taken, but we're not going to worry about that because we're not capturing any images. So let's go ahead and go into system configuration. So the first screen is the image settings. So within this screen, one thing that's been recommended to us for the infrared palette is to actually go ahead and select on that. We're going to select type 4. Gives a good rainbow color, good color delineation, just works out overall really, really well. You'll see on some of the other check boxes, leave the show OSD on screen display. We're going to leave that. OSD size, I would click that to normal. And then you really do not have to make any adjustments. You'll notice that everything kind of comes up at the 50 setting. Just leave all of that. WDR is unchecked. Strong light suppression is unchecked. Very important. Any screen that you make any adjustments on, always select apply. If you do not select apply, none of these settings will take hold. So let's go ahead and click on that, okay. Now we're going to go into temperature correction. So this is very important. We need to uncheck, make sure all these blocks are unchecked. Automatic correction unchecked, manual correction unchecked. Right here, temperature compensation unchecked, so the enable. So again, apply that setting, okay on that. Now we're going to go to position calibration. We're going to go through a very detailed procedure on how to do this. This is just going to be a very quick overview. We'll cut out and come back in to give a good step through on that. Very quickly though, you'll see that there's 2 crosshairs on each screen, one on the IR, one on the video screen. Because this system uses 2 cameras, we have to correct for parallax error. Just like our eyes, but our brain does that automatically, so we're going to actually take care of that for this system. So let's go to black body. This is where you're setting the actual set point, or the actual target point, I should say, for the black body that gives the camera its position. This is its reference for the constant precision temperature source. We will be setting that here shortly. Again, we'll go through that in detail and describe what we're doing there. Let's go through the alarm configuration. A little bit more on this page right now. So you'll see there's quite a few settings here. So enable alarm, we highly recommend that. Just want to talk about that for a second. If you don't enable an alarm, someone will have to be staring at that screen with intense scrutiny. And if anybody's distracted while doing a screening, it's very easy to overlook. There is a red and green alarm light. We're going to go over that. Couple things to keep in mind. You got people, there's a general population of males more susceptible that are red-green colorblind. We highly recommend having the audio alert. It's just a very subtle tone that comes up and alerts the operator, but we highly, strongly encourage to make sure that is always left on. So we'll enable the alarm, overlay face information. Right here, this capture picture, uncheck that box. This way there's no photographs, there's nothing being stored on the system. High temperature alarm, we'll go in and we'll actually click on that. You'll notice that this is in degrees C. We are going to set this to 36.5 and click OK. And now we need to set our end bounds of this slider. So that's going to be 29C. And then we're going to come down here and set this at 39C. And we're going to reiterate this as well, but one thing, all adjustments to these alarming values have to be done in degrees centigrade. We're going to show you in the configuration screen in just a moment to where to change that, but this has to be done in centigrade. You cannot do this in Fahrenheit. 36.5 is the equivalent of 97.7 degrees. That's a skin surface temperature. That temperature is about 1.4 to 2 degrees cooler than our body core temperature. So let's go down to the alarm configuration, alarm time. Let's just bump that to 4 seconds. We're picking 4 seconds to give a little bit of an extra dwell time on that alarm. We're looking for a cycle time in any site installations of approximately 5 to 6 seconds. So we don't want the alarm time to overlap to any individuals that are cycling through. So 4 seems to be a really good setting for that. So let's apply. And we'll go to the advanced configuration settings. And again, always make sure you're hitting apply and then OK on those boxes before moving on to the next. So one thing that's critical, let's go to the path configuration. You have to give the system a valid path before the software will actually alarm. Otherwise, it's just going to be a live readout and nothing happens. So we've already created a file folder on the desktop labeled screening. So we're going to give it that valid destination. Now the system will give us valid alarms. We'll OK on that. Let's go into advanced configuration. So right here is where, depending on your deployment, wherever it's at in the world, whatever you're comfortable with. So here in the US, we're stuck in Fahrenheit, so no problem. We'll apply that. Good to go. So let's apply. And you should always run this system in live view. So we'll go back to live view, then we're going to cut and we're going to go to the alignment screens in more detail. All right, we're back with you. We're on the live view screen right now, and what we're going to do is we're going to deep dive the system configuration. Specifically, we're going to go into the position calibration. This is an absolutely critical step. This is going to need to be set up initially, but this also needs to be verified throughout the day. Certainly at every shift change. If these alignments get knocked out, if somebody hits the camera or hits the black body, this will throw the system readings off, and you absolutely have to verify that this remains stable throughout the use of the camera. So we're going to walk through the detailed steps on how to do this. As you see, when the software launches, you get 2 crosshairs on the IR screen, 2 crosshairs on the video screen. What you have to do is correct for parallax error. So we're going to drag that yellow. You can see there's a yellow and a green plus sign, the crosshair. So you need 2 fixed reference points. So we're going to drag the yellow one over, and right smack in the middle of the black body, you see the nice temperature. The other one, what we've done here on the video screen, we're going to drag that and put it on the same reference point. So now we're correcting for the IR and the thermal camera parallax error. Right now, we've got a hot cup of water set up. We're going to show you that in a second, but let's go ahead and drag that to set the alignment. Position that over the point source. Now he's grabbing an edge of that cup, so he's got just sort of a nice contrast and area. There we go, looks good. So what we've done, this is ad hoc for us. You can take whatever creative measure you want to actually execute this step. So we're going to take a look at our setup. What we've done, simply just put a box. We got a recycling can, and we put a hot cup of water or coffee in the scene just to give you some contrast target to allow you to set up those targeting crosshairs. Now, you could even do as much as have somebody else assist you. You'll notice that just even placing a cell phone in the IR screen gives you enough heat to where somebody could actually adjust on that as long as they're holding it stable. You can set the crosshairs easily on the corner of that cell phone or on an edge, however you want to do it. It's up to you. You can be creative, but you just need 2 fixed references, and you need to have them separated. You need to have one in the upper corner and one in the lower corner, 2 completely different lat longs, otherwise the system will experience issues. So I think that's good for that section. We apply that calibration. Now we're going to go to the black body calibration screen. And again, absolutely critical. These will all get shifted if the camera gets bumped or moved in any manner, the camera or the black body. It's very critical. You're setting the target reference temperature for the camera. The camera is going to stare at this spot. It's looking at that black body heat source. That's its precision reference. So it's staring at that 37.0 degrees C, and it looks there all the time. If that target gets moved because the black body gets bumped or the camera gets bumped, all of the measurements from that point on will be completely bogus. So let's apply. Again, always make sure you hit apply. That loads that configuration and alignment file into the camera itself, so you're good to go. Those are the 2 most critical elements, the position calibration and black body configuration, that have to be set up for this system to work properly. Let's go back to live view. So now you can see everything's working really well. I'm going to step in front of the screen just so you can see what happens here. You got the bubble, you can see my temperature, and in the event that I was reading high, the system would alarm. If you look in the upper right-hand quadrant of the screen, you will see the green light. The system goes to an alarm state. That light's going to go red, and you're going to get a beeping sound. And I think that's a good overview for the initial setup. So we're back on live view screen. We wanted to just touch on a couple of things real quick. Let's go to system configuration. I want to just make sure that you really should not have to adjust any of the settings. Once you go through the initial setup and deployment on site, you really should not have to touch anything. The two things of note that you will have to verify throughout the day, at lunchtime, at shift change, doesn't hurt if you do it more, but certainly needs to be done at shift change, and I would recommend at lunchtime or midday to just continually verify. Let's go to position calibration. Make sure your targets are set to where you initially set them up. In the black body configuration, making sure that that green crosshair square is aligned perfectly center on the black body. That gives you the greatest chance of success, and you will immediately note if those are shifted off that you've got a problem, the system has been bumped, and you need to stop operation, realign the system, and then commence operation again. And just out of a little bit of a demonstration, we have arbitrarily set the alarming value at a lower point. I'm going to step in front of the camera so you can see what happens in an alarm state. You will notice that the red light comes on here and you will hear an audible sound. So that's what you can expect on site. Very quick beep and the red light comes on. So again, the operator needs to be very attentive to what's happening. It is a very short alarm. If there's a lot of commotion, somebody's looking at cell phones, somebody's getting a call, very easy to get distracted. We do recommend leaving the alarm on and the light because it is very quick. So attention to detail on this operations is paramount. So thank you.